a fresh cup of coffee, and I think I need it because of what we're going to discuss right now. Here's a headline. Benjamin Netanyahu offers to resume peace talks with settlement focus, officials are saying. Now, I can tell you, I was just in Israel, and let me just say this. I was riding around, with the tour group. We had a little small group, but Messianic Rabbi Stephen Ben Danun. And we drove from, one day we drove from Jerusalem to the Sea of Galilee. And as we were going, we came up to some checkpoints that normally are guarded. When we got there, there was nobody there. They were taking the checkpoints down. Now, these were running along some of those areas that are in discrepancy, if you will, between the Jews and the Arabs or Palestinians. And Stephen says to me, I don't understand. They're taking down the checkpoints? Then we go a little further in other areas and we would come up on new checkpoints that were never, that were in an area where there's no border discrepancy inside of Israel. He said, what's going on here? They're building new checkpoints. So I said, but wait a minute. Is this based on, maybe this was where the old 1949 green zone was? He says, no. I said, well, maybe it's where the old, he goes, no, it's not where the pre-67 borders were. No, this is new areas. And there's all kinds of new apartments and condominiums and things being built all over Israel. Unbelievable. No matter where I went. So, and there was different places where there were different what was being constructed as new checkpoints. And it's as if the new border is being negotiated and is getting prepared. The system, as a matter of fact, there are now in East Jerusalem, and then we walked through East Jerusalem one day on our way to the Pool of Shalom, and Salam, excuse me. And as we were walking there, we went through a Arab neighborhood, right through an Arab neighborhood, all the way through it. A lot of Arabs or Palestinians were there. And when we got down and started talking about this, he says to me, there's now Palestinian police officers that are getting some jurisdiction. They are Israeli citizens, by the way, and they're being allowed to have some authority in the police in the east side of Jerusalem. So it's as if the process has begun. Now, let me just tell you what's being said in the today's headlines. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has proposed resuming peace talks and peace negotiations with the Palestinians, but with the initial focus on the identifying those Jewish settlements that Israel would keep and be allowed to expand, an Israeli official is saying. Now, peace talks collapsed back in April of 2014. We know that over Israeli settlement building in the occupied, or what they want to call the occupied West Bank and the East Jerusalem area. Why they call it occupied? It's because it was once part of the pre-67 border. And they lost that territory because of the attack on Israel. Okay, just like why Syria lost the Golan Heights. Why Lebanon lost part of southern Lebanon. Why initially Egypt lost the whole Sinai Peninsula and then Israel gave it back. Why Jordan lost some land area. It's because they all attacked Israel once. So let's not, let's get it straight that we understand our history here. But anyway, Jerusalem areas, it says that Netanyahu's position is that a spokesman for Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said settlement activity had to stop altogether before peace talks could resume, and that all core issues of the conflict with Israel need to be addressed simultaneously. In a meeting in Jerusalem on Wednesday, Netanyahu told the European Union's foreign policy chief that some of the land Israel captured in the 1967 war would remain in its hands, while other parts would be left under Palestinian control. So Netanyahu is beginning the process. Now, folks, you got to understand, why is he doing this, you're saying? Because what's coming in September, the Pope has already recognized the Palestinian state. The Vatican has. And after the Pope did this, then 136 other countries did the same thing, recognizing a Palestinian state. France has even said they're willing to put a resolution on the table for a vote at the General Assembly this September to make Palestine a state and then to figure out the borders. Well, of course, what's happening here, and listen, there's 5 permanent members of the Security Council of the UN. They are France and Britain and Germany. No, excuse me, France and Britain, America, Russia, and China. That's your 5 nations. If any of the 5 decide to veto a resolution motion, then it doesn't even go to the floor. France says they're going to make the motion, so they won't veto it. United Kingdom, Britain says they won't veto it. China said we won't veto it. Russia said we won't veto it. And Obama hasn't spoken. So if Obama says let's vote, it's going to go through and you're going to have a forced 2-state solution on Israel. And the UN will draw the lines. But if Obama says no, let's not force it. Let's let it come through naturally by negotiations with Benjamin Netanyahu and Abbas, then maybe there can be a deal put together. But here's the thing, and Netanyahu knows this. And Netanyahu's thinking, maybe I ought to get out ahead of this and start negotiating a peace process to keep the UN from forcing it and then trying to mandate it with UN forces or even U.S. forces for that matter. Wouldn't that be horrible? So this thing is getting this September, I mean, we got the 500 days till climate chaos. We have waves of energy. There's talk of Planet X, but we know it's the Feast of the Trumpets and the Feast of Tabernacles. We know the Pope is coming to America, to the White House to meet President Obama and to address the Congress and to go to New York before having a mass in the streets of Philadelphia. We know the UN General Assembly is going to gather. And oh, by the way, God says, don't forget, there's a blood moon, a super blood moon, the 4th blood moon of a 4 blood moon tetrad. We won't see this again for 400 plus years. And what I mean by that, there'll be more tetrads, but they won't be on Jewish high feast days, on the Feast of Tabernacle. I'll be preaching a blood moon revival in Hyman, Pennsylvania at Tri-State Ministries with Pastor Steve Leidig. And so I can tell you right now, it's a prophetic time like I've never seen before. And this is truly signs of the end times. Will they part the land of Israel? And in this negotiation, will there be a 7-year covenant with many? And will Israel then be allowed to build the 3rd temple since they have to give up some of their land? Wow! Are you serious? We're living in the last days. Give your life to Jesus Christ. Seriously, get saved and accept Christ as your Savior. If you're not born again, we're running out of time.